This is a question I've got asked a lot since doing the Arizona Peace Trail Guide videos. Do you have to be street legal, and how they can become street legal if their home state doesn't tag a side-by-side? I'm going to go over how I did and a simple and cheap way you can be legal for a one-time trip in Arizona. I figured out. First off, yes, you legally need to be street legal. People do it without being, but if you're taking a risk of fines and vehicle impoundment. After doing some research, the most secure and legal way of making mine street legal seemed to be the LLC Montana route. Doing stuff like the South Dakota tags where the vehicle still stays registered in the person's name can kind of hit some legal bumpers there, because some states require if you own a vehicle that's not registered in another state, it's registered in there. So some of those seem to have some hiccups depending on what state you're coming from. After seeing a lot of positive feedback, I decided to go with LLC, TLC. And the thing I liked is even before I committed to starting their program, anytime I called them, I could get an actual person on the phone, ask questions up front. Everything seemed pretty transparent and easy. I've used them for a few years now, no hiccups. I'm going to include some links in the description to their website, street legal checklist for Montana, Arizona, and then the secondary cheaper solution if you're just trying to do a trip. There'll all be links in the descriptions for those. Now, this is a much more expensive option than the second solution I have. It's an $895 fee up front. The tag is actually going to be a permanent tag. However, you do pay a $165 fee currently for the yearly keeping the LLC up. Now, I am not affiliated in any way other than I just happen to use this company and have liked their services over the years. Now, if you did want to do me a favor, they do have a referral program. If you tell them W Trips LLC referred them, I'll get a credit, and that helps cover either my yearly fees or the next vehicle I add. Hopefully, going to bring a new cool side-by-side to the channel, and that one I'm going to do the exact same process as here and street legal that one as well. Now, if you add a second vehicle, you don't pay $895 once the LLC is set up. If you notice, there's an additional vehicle fee. So if I get a second side-by-side this year, I can pay $525 for this same LLC and get a street legal tag for it as well. The process does take a little bit of time. I had a free and clear title to mine. And once I started, it took me about 3 weeks before I got the plate in, which is a motorcycle size plate, if you're wondering, with the decal for Montana. Now, the title, I want to say, took about 2 months for that to get back to me, and it was a Montana title. If you're debating buying a side-by-side and going this route, there's a few things to kind of keep in mind. One, if it's in the LLC, it may limit you on financing options. There's some options out there, but definitely do your research ahead of time and make sure that's going to work for you. If you're paying cash, there's also something else to kind of keep in mind. I wish I would have had a little bit more forethought on this one. When I bought mine, I paid my state sales tax, and then not that long after, turned around and registered it in Montana. Now, if I had done the LLC first, Montana, you don't pay state sales tax, so I could have almost negated my savings, just not paying my state sales tax and directly registering it in Montana. Now, I am not a lawyer, and none of this is legal advice. This is just my general understanding of things. Now, the one thing I did like about the Montana route is the reciprocity agreements. So, for instance, if you have a car in South Carolina, every time you go into another state, you don't have to have that state's tag and registration. It's honored throughout the United States. Now, side-by-sides can be a little bit tricky. For instance, if you lived in North Carolina, you may have a street legal side-by-side there, but that registration is not 50 state. It doesn't get pulled up in a big database. That's a local tag that's only for that state, or maybe a certain county or something like that. Now, with the Montana, there's reciprocity agreements, and this is how a lot of people do these bigger trips, or they be in certain states and get pulled over and not get a ticket because Montana has a reciprocity agreement with such and such state to honor each other's tags. Now, this does get to be a gray area depending on what state you live in. Some of them do not like to go by this reciprocity agreement. Ultimately, if you get a ticket, it's going to determine what the judge is and where you're at. Like California, for instance, my understanding, they don't really let that fly. Certain spots in Colorado, PA, there's been multiple court cases. So again, if you're trying to do this as a drive in your state being street legal, maybe look up for other people that's been pulled over or what the interactions has been. It seems to be you can get by with it. The main reason I did it is I do trips all over the country, a lot of places that are legal, like Utah, street legal side-by-side, Arizona, Montana, Tennessee, North Carolina. In each one of those, I have been able to use my Montana tag and enjoy those trips and not have to worry about trailering to the trailhead, stuff like that. There's a lot of information in these websites, so definitely read through them. If you have any questions, send them a chat or just give them a phone call and do your own research, but this has been a good option. Now, the second option, I have done my research and due diligence, but not personally went this route. So if anyone does this and it does or it doesn't work, sound off in the comments. I would rather edit or kill a video than spread misinformation. A 30-day general use permit allows an unregistered vehicle to operate on the roadways for a 30-day period and can only be issued once in a 12-month period. It has no movement restrictions or residency requirements. The permit is available at those websites or purchased at MVD or authorized third-party office. The fee is $15. After digging around in Arizona's different permits and who could do what, this is the only one that I ran across that would check the box enough to do the Arizona Peace Trail. Again, plan a week to do that trip. Now, I actually somehow managed to create a login through the website, kept trying to play with it. I was playing with my VIN, vehicles VINs, and I could never figure out how to get a 30-day use permit. Now, after doing some digging, if you are a resident, apparently that portal will work since you're in their system to get a 30-day use permit. If you're non-resident, that's where you actually need to go in person to get this 30-day permit. Now, I called and verified that they could do a side-by-side, that they could do a 30-day use permit. The only thing that they are requiring, again, you have to go in person. You have to bring either your bill of sales to show ownership or your title. So one of those two must go with you. Any other permit is either not going to likely work for you as a non-resident, or you're not going to hit the correct usage. So this is the one you want. You're not doing emission testings. You're not getting vehicles repaired. And I guess you could do the 90-day if you purchase the side-by-side in Arizona right before the trip. But the 30-day, and again, it's only good for one permit per year. So if you plan a spring trip, you cannot do this again in the fall. You have to wait for a complete year to pass. On top of using this 30-day use permit, you're also going to have to do everything that's required to be street legal in Arizona. So I'll drop that link. It's going to be in the description. Now, the offices are open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:45 p.m. So just like we was talking in the guide videos, this is where you need to get some logistics and planning for you. I'll have the link to the Arizona, and this is part of the playlist there. If you haven't seen it, they're great videos to go through, get some food for thought if you're planning on doing the Arizona Peace Trail. Now, in our instance, we picked Kingsman, Arizona because it was a good drop-off point for everybody to meet up. They also have a DMV branch. So in our instance, if we were going to redo this trip and somebody needed to be street legal, maybe kick the trip off Monday at 7:30 at the DMV. Let's go ahead and get that tag first thing, and then we're good to go for 30 days and have a ball. Also, if you're planning to be tight on time or like first thing in the morning when the place open, keep in mind that most of Arizona does not observe daylight savings times. However, as you're looking through the list, you will see that there are some locations that observe daylight savings time or some that might have different office hours. So again, pick out your office that you're wanting to go to and make sure it works for your plan. Many of these locations are close to the Arizona Peace Trail or part of it, so you should be able to fairly easily pick out an office regardless of which way you're coming from that would work. Now, I'm including the phone number I called. It's that top number at 602-255-0072. If you need any questions or anything, give them a call. And any questions for the channel, feel free to drop them in it. If you are debating doing the Arizona Peace Trail, I do recommend my 5-part guide series and the pack out videos. Again, all that's going to be in a link up here and in the description. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And until the next adventure, hope you have a good one.